My name is Jonathan Carl Kwan Sr., and this is part of my story. I've been in the counseling field now for roughly about 12 years. I really got into this field by default. I'd made some questionable choices in my life some years ago, back in the mid 90s, which led me to having to make a career change because I went to prison. And when I got out of prison, I had an opportunity to work in this field and saw that I seemed to have a knack for it, and just was fortunate enough to have people to help guide me into the therapeutic position that I have currently. I want to help people because in this field specifically, because I'd experienced a lot of the same difficulties that the people that I try to help deal with now, and people help me to overcome it. So I figured it'd be a natural transition for me to work and help other people overcome the same type issues. I've had some addiction issues in my life. I've had some addictions to, from what I've learned about the disease of addiction, I've been addicted to something, one thing or another, since I was born, pretty much. My first addiction I identified myself was attention. You know, family wants you to dance when Soul Train came on. So, and then the positive attention I got from that just naturally led to me going to school and becoming the class clown and getting that kind of attention. And subsequently, at one point, to fit in, started using drugs or alcohol. And that led me to making the choices I made, which led me to my prison experience. I grew up in an era where before the drug life that we often see in these communities now, before it took off. And I grew up, and the hardest drug that you would see would be marijuana, and the other, crack cocaine wasn't even in existence, and heroin was for people, on in the shooting gallery, and we didn't see that kind of stuff very often. So, growing up, I had a wonderful childhood. Little league baseball, intramural basketball, games. So I played with my friends and developed some great relationships with people that I still love to this day. It was just I had a good life. I had a good youthful life. When when most people stop using drugs or alcohol, it's usually because someone suggested that they stop. Usually isn't because they want to stop. And it's whether it's a family member, a spouse, an employer, a friend, or someone, or the legal system says, "Hey, you need to stop." So, what I've found is that people with addictions usually they have to go through the experience a few times, and like you go from because insurance companies control what happens, and they'll say, well, we're not going to put you in inpatient treatment at first, we're going to put you in an outpatient and see how that works, and if you can't stay clean, can't stay off of drugs and alcohol, then we'll put you. So it's like rehab is sort of the last resort that they often do, or it's the first resort for someone who is being sent by someone else. There's a school of thought. Many people with addiction problems don't like dealing with people who have not had addiction problems. They feel, how can you help me if you've never experienced it yourself? And so people with addictive behaviors tend to focus more on the messenger instead of the message. But the analogy that I like to use often is a doctor can often help cure you of a disease that they never themselves had. So you sort of kind of, it would benefit to be open that doesn't matter who's saying it, just pay attention to, if that information can be utilized by you to make some life changes to stop you from the addictive behaviors. That's really what it all boils down to. But unfortunately, in knowing what I know about the disease of addiction, it tends to try to convince the person that has it that if you've never had an addiction, then you can't help me. You don't understand, and so it uses that as justification, rationalization to continue using. all of the above. It's day by day. It's difficult. It never ends. The road to recovery is a road that doesn't have an end point. You don't end up at you never get to recovered. But you do stay on the path so that you don't end up going back off the path and picking up again. It's an ongoing process, and it is really difficult, especially if you've had a long-term history of using drugs or alcohol. It's like one of the things I always share with the people that I'm trying to help is, if you've been using for 20 years and you come here and you're here for a month and you haven't used, you can't expect to have clarity based on that 1 month because you used for 20 years. So it takes time, and it's recovery is hard work. It really is. It's about facing life on life terms and dealing with things as they are. And addicts tend to want to hide from the realities of life, and you can't do that. Most people don't have the luxury of being able to use a substance to fix a life problem. It doesn't usually work out anyway. I would like to leave is the fact that they make changes no matter what anybody else is offering them. It's up to them to make the changes in their lives, and I'd like for them to walk away from any kind of experience they have with me as their counselor, that they accomplished their goals, not that I did anything for them other than just offer them the direction and perhaps the walk in, and I'm only offering them a direction that someone else showed me. So I want them to get freedom and enjoyment, the same freedom and enjoyment that people who stop using drugs and alcohol usually encounter.